Hello and welcome to the Evolution Franchising Podcast. My name is Mike Welch. I'm the founder of Evolution Franchising. We help people find and evaluate great franchise opportunities. And our guest today is my buddy Dave Warren. I've known Dave for several years. He is the director of franchise development for Buzz Franchise Brands. And today we're going to be talking about, I don't want to say my favorite Buzz brand because I love them all, but British Swim Schools is going to be the brand that we feature today. So, Dave, thanks for being with us. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about who you are and what you've done?
Hey man, thank you for the opportunity, Welchie. It's always a pleasure to get together, my brother. As Mike said, director of franchise development for Buzz. Been in franchise development now, 15 plus years. Matter of fact, it was a consultant that got me into this crazy world coming out of automotive and big culture shift back when the financial dominoes came crashing down. I know we hear it about all the time with the people we talk with. Looking for new opportunities in front of me, and I'm glad I found it. Absolutely love what I do.
That's awesome. And by the way, everybody knows that, by the way. Everybody
Yeah,
knows you love what you do. That's why you win awards at every conference we go to, Dave.
I tell you, I like people, and I think that's a great place to start. And I love building, so I love helping teams build, but most important, helping people find their path to entrepreneurship. Create win-win. But like I said, I love what I do.
That's terrific, man. Well, tell us a little bit about what's going on at British Swim Schools. Big fan.
Yeah, British swim, for a long history in swimming. Our founder, Rita, competitive swimmer herself, started British Swim School some 40 years ago. When her competitive career ended, she knew she was going to do something in swimming and happened to have a degree, went to university, Manchester, England, in early childhood development. So when aquatics and education collide, British Swim School was born some 40 years ago. And our mantra, Mike, survival of the littlest,
I
wasn't
love
born,
that.
yeah, it wasn't born right out of the gate. Rita, being a competitive swimmer herself, envisioned, swim club, stroke technique, but just got a huge demand for teach my little one to swim. So being an educator, she put together a full curriculum that was around water acclimation and then water survival. So really, we teach little ones to float. We teach them to turn, float on their back, be heard in an unfortunate circumstance. So that's our mantra to this day. Survival of the littlest was born some 40 years ago in Manchester, England, and we're
That
carrying.
is amazing, man. I absolutely love it. I'm a father of four, and it's just it's a beautiful thing that you guys are doing. It's survival of the littlest. So, I mean, listen, I can go to the YMCA and go to a swim class or a swim lesson or something like that. What makes British Swim Schools unique?
Great question. I tell you, and it's gentle, fun approach. There's a lot of different curriculums out there for teaching little ones to be safe around water. Hats off to every one of them, because at the end of the day, we're
Yeah.
curbing an unfortunate number. And I'll only bring it up once, but the leading cause of accidental death under 5 is water related. And it's
Really? I didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah, and it's unfortunate. Hollywood's got it depicted as being noisy. It's not. It's quiet. So one of the biggest key differentiators with British Swim School is gentle fun, but very intimate class sizes. So when we're doing water survival, it's one instructor with 4 students in the water. To be able to move up to a different level, and I'm going to pick on one of my favorite, the seahorses. That's about the 4-year-olds. To go from seahorse to move up, it's not age. It's based off skill. That student needs to do 5 things. One of them is independent of an adult or a parent. They need to jump in the water, turn, float on their back, use their voice for 20 seconds, kick away from the wall, roll under, roll over, float on their back, use their voice for 20 seconds. So common theme is being safe in water. Once they become safe, then we could teach them to be strong swimmers. So key differentiators: gentle, fun approach. Plus, I think the biggest one is we don't own pools. We operate schools. So we utilize an underutilized resource, whether it be a hotel, an aquatic center, could be a rehab facility. There's a lot of indoor water that's being underutilized. So we go into a revenue share, and I tell you that keeps that asset light initial investment. And
Yeah.
so yeah,
So
keep
is that kind of the I know that survival of the littlest is the battle cry, is the I guess the catchphrase to help people remember what you guys do from a business standpoint is you don't own pool. What was it? What was it again, Dave?
we don't own pools, we operate schools.
We don't own pools, we
Little,
operate schools.
little
Yeah.
asterisk there. We do have some owners that own pools that now that's not the first year model. That's model year 7 to year 10. They've collected a whole bunch of commas along the way so they can lease a pool. But no, out of the gate, we're taking that resource, that build out, and put it into what I think are two important things in business: customer acquisition and people, staff, especially now.
Yes.
So we could afford to pay those instructors, the aquatics lead, what they're worth. People are priceless, right?
And you guys basically rent the pool space, right? It's a revenue share with whoever will rent you their indoor aquatic facility, whether it's a hotel or, any other number of places that have an indoor pool. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. And even though if you look at, and Mike, I know we both have been in spaces where you've got build out, tenant improvement, right? Lease negotiations.
Yeah.
We don't have a build out, but we still do site selection for our franchise owners. We're going to put boots on the ground to make sure that location meets brand standards. It's visible. I mean, then you combine that with the power of buzz, where we look at that pool and we'll look at a 5, 10, 15-minute drive time, and we look at how many potential students under 9 are within that area. And then you take it to another level. We know that 82% of the initial enrollment is under 9. That's our core customer. Now, the benefit there is the territories regenerate because people continue to have kids. So
Right. There's 9-year-olds that go to school, a new grade every single year, and everybody underneath that. So yeah, you guys have a regenerating customer base. That's pretty neat. Now you talked about buzz. I want to deep dive that, but if we can, I want to push that to kind of towards the end of the call, because people who don't know the name, Buzz is a powerhouse franchise organization. But before we hop into that, without going into the numbers super deep, we have to be careful. I always give that little caution. But how many franchise locations do you have open now? How many are in development? How many folks are in the pipeline, and how are they doing? So I guess 4 questions in one.
Yeah, I tell you, you look at what happened, of course, with the pandemic, and 65 is the first number I share. 65 owners reopened after they effectively had to shut down. So that's a great indicator we're in a good spot. 95 current franchise owners, 87 open. We've awarded Mike 23 new owners this year alone. We've seen
Congratulations.
we've seen great growth, and I think the biggest thing is because I know unfortunately, a lot of parents learned about distance learning, right? Can't distance learn a swim lesson. Can't get it online. So it's put us in a great position to grow. We operate in over 250 pools throughout the United States and Canada. Another number we like to share is 860,000 individual swim lessons so far this year alone. So
this year.
This year, yeah.
So you guys are doing about 1 million system wide. That's amazing, Dave. That's very impressive.
Yeah, and the growth we've had has also been internal, where we've had 8 franchise owners expand and add territories. So
I was talking about this on a previous podcast. It's what you always want to see. It's the hallmark of a good franchise company. Existing franchisees coming back to buy more territories. If you never see that in the system, it's buyer beware, right? But when you hear about people doing it in mass like they are with you guys, that's always a positive.
Yeah, and true. And then you asked kind of how they're doing. We've got owners from all walks of life and with different maybe end goals in mind. So whether it be to give back to the community, whether it be to build wealth, create options, free up time. Boy, time's a whole different ROI nowadays, isn't it, Mike? Um, but owners are doing well. And once again, the gauge of that is expanding. You
What's
combine
their role, Dave? What's the role of the owner? I mean, am I in the water? Am I in swim trunks every day? Or am I in khakis and a golf shirt? What's the owner doing?
um, I would say the high percentage of owners, yes, some do get in the water. We have owners that have never been in the water before and scaled. Our model and part of that initial investment is going to be an aquatics lead, a manager out of the gate that will
Okay.
oversee that water curriculum. So franchise owners' role really is to build culture with their team, to once we establish a pattern of pool partners, maybe it's expanding that. Could be home shows, Chamber of Commerce, local fire department on water education. Every May,
Yeah.
Water Safety Month. There's a lot of opportunity that we could do within the community to build the brand. I tell you, we got that playbook for the franchise owners. So in the water, don't well, I'm not going to get in the water. Get involved in it. But
So can this be run semi-absentee, or is it owner's best efforts every day?
yeah, manager run out of the gate and executive
Okay.
power, and absolutely can be done. The heavy lifting in any business is going to be at the very front, right?
Always.
There's going to be owner training. There's going to be learning systems. We support our franchise owners in all four pillars, operations, HR, customer acquisition. I think without customer acquisition, we don't have that fourth pillar, unit economics. But very teachable business. But the heavy lifting is going to be at the front with training and whatnot. 15 to 20 hours a week with the right manager in place.
Okay, right on. Now let's talk a little bit about recession. Everybody calls it the big R word. It seems like we're either in one or we're going to be, or, I guess it depends on which news channel you watch. But this is a 40-year-old business. This is not British Swim School's first rodeo with ebbs and flows in the economy. So how does the business tend to do during recessionary times? How does it weather the ups and downs?
Yeah, and like I mentioned, you can't get a swim lesson online. It's water safety, well, safety in general is top of mind for every parent. I know with my little ones, and shoot, it was times when the financial downturn, all three of them got swim lessons. It was at a different place, whether it be the Y, one was Parks and Rec. Other one was a friend of ours at church was teaching swim lessons, but it was what was in front of us at the time. So we're going to be in front of a captive audience. So whether somebody's looking on Google, Facebook, we're going to be in front of that audience to capture market share. But in a recession, once again, learn to swim, top of mind of every parent. Can't get one online now.
I I'm sitting here thinking about myself as a dad, right? Father of four. Now my kids are older now. I'm on the back half, I guess you might say, of raising people, at least at my house. Um, but I would just cut out a $6 cup of coffee way before I would ever cut out swimming lessons for my toddler. I just can't comprehend a scenario where, unless it was an absolutely disastrous situation, that would be one of the last. If my children were going to regularly be around water, teaching them to be safe around that water would be one of the last things I would eliminate. At least that is the prevailing wisdom in my mind.
100%, you spot on, because once again, at the end of the day, it's all about water safety. I've even talked to people that put off putting in a pool until their kids had swim lessons. Now, another, we've seen a huge spike here, but one of our sister brands, Pool Scouts, I know that the amount of pools that are being put in is at a record clip, and it's not just in Florida, California, Arizona, Des Moines, Iowa. It's everywhere. Backyard pools are being put in. So water safety is at least the awareness is at an all-time high.
Yeah, that's cool. And for pool scouts, I think the pandemic might have been the greatest thing that happened for those guys because people would listen. You keep people cooped up in their house long enough, and they're going to get creative with regards to leisure. And I think that pool scout, there's to your point, I've heard that before that some of these more leisurely expenses have really skyrocketed in pool scouts services. That it's almost like selling pickaxes to gold miners, right? So We can talk about those guys another day. We're going to focus on British Swim School. So there's no such thing as a perfect business, Dave. You and I have been around the block enough times to know that there are challenges. I jokingly tell folks that the world, as a business owner, the world is constantly conspiring against us. Every day there are things in our way. We either have to go over them, around them, or sometimes we got to go through them. So, in the world of British Swim School franchise owners, what are some of the things that they really need to know about and they need to be able to work through in order to be successful? In other words, if they can't deal with X, and you'll tell us what X is, they really shouldn't be thinking about a British Swim School as a franchise opportunity.
Yeah, great question. I think it's going to follow the same answer for a lot of different companies. It's going to be, of course, in staffing. And, the key here is even when there's really two different buckets. One is going to be that aquatics lead. That's more of a manager role. Um, uh, Big labor pool that we're pulling from. But the key in any HR model, of course, is to have a pay plan that's conducive for retention, and that's going to be incentivizing. So that aquatics lead would be incentivized based on the growth of the business. The second bucket, instructors. There's a lot of people, whether it be through colleges, college job boards, could be high school students, depending on the state, disclaimer, that are looking to pick up extra shifts. And the way we structure this, we could afford to pay instructors fairly well. And because once again, we're not putting those resources into big lease payments or big build outs,
Yes,
customers
yes.
and staff. So you're not going to hear that it's a lack of customers. It's a huge demand for what we do. We're going to be in front of a captive audience. We're going to get the phones to ring and people inquire. Number one challenge, of course, in any I think any business is staffing, and we've got a very orchestrated approach for both buckets: the aquatics lead and the instructors.
You just tapped into a place in my. I went back to being 16, 17, and 18 years old. When I was a kid, I used to lifeguard at the state park in my hometown. And it was my summer job, got all the certifications, passed all the tests, actually ended up being able to train other lifeguards through a certification. I can't remember if it was a WSI or an LGI. I think it was LGI, lifeguard instructor. And sometimes when the park would close down for the summer, I would take on jobs doing this is just independent people who had met me lifeguard would ask me if I would teach their kids swimming lessons in an informal kind of a way. So yeah, I'm intimately familiar with that. I didn't even think about that before this podcast, Dave. I'm just now it's all coming back to me here. So
It
well, very cool.
looks good on your resume, Welch.
Yeah, I'll put it on the resume. So let's
Happy
talk
with
about
you.
you guys, right? So one thing that surprises a lot of franchise candidates, and I say this in just about every podcast, they come with a check in their pocket, and man, they they get sometimes a little bit bullish because they got a check in their pocket and they think that that's enough. You'll take the check and you'll sign them up as franchisees. We both know that's not the case. When I was on that side of the fence, I personally turned down several people over the course of my career because they weren't a cultural fit. They would not be, or they wouldn't have a high probability of success. So, if you could wave a magic wand, if British swim schools could wave a magic wand, what does an ideal candidate look like?
Great question. And yeah, I think it's process. It's when you invest in a franchise, it's paint by numbers. Use the right color in the right box, you end up with your picture. And there's some people that think, "Yeah, I think red would look better here." It's just not the right fit. You end up with a completely skewed picture. So our discovery process alone is really creates a mutual evaluation, but it shows that the ability to follow a process. So the number one is going to be process. Second is people. It's this is a people business. This is a customer service business. So I don't think we get a lot of people that are kicking tires that don't like people, but I think that's a definitely um, if you look at our top performing franchise owners, they're good with people. The desire to give back and make a difference in your community.
That
Uh,
seems fundamental to me for this brand.
100%. And it is. even people that have come in and their goal is to collect some commas, build some wealth, and they've created a learn to swim empire. We've got a franchisee in New Jersey, I think just added his 5th territory. Um, he's
Love
still
that. That's an
he's still
empire.
he's built a learn to swim empire. Absolutely. He still embraces that mantra, the survival of the littlest. You look at his LinkedIn, his Facebook, it's everywhere. Because at the end of the day, we are curbing those numbers I brought up at the very beginning. We are making a difference. So the ability to follow process, people, make a difference in your community. And I tell you that process, that paint by numbers, like I mentioned in those 4 pillars: operations, HR, customer acquisition, financial management. We've got the paint by numbers approach in all 4 pillars.
Yeah, you guys do. And you've got it across all of your brands at Buzz. So we'll come back to close out with British Swim School, but I want to talk about Buzz franchising. I mean, that is, and for those of you who are watching and may not know, Buzz was actually the parent company of Mosquito Joe, which became a juggernaut in the franchise space. And it sounds to me like British Swim Schools is doing the same thing, and it's inevitable, I believe, that you guys will do it with all the brands that you ultimately touch. But what's going on at Buzz these days?
Yeah, I tell you, I'm fortunate. Culture top down, I think, is one of the best in franchising. And
Yes.
when they started Mosquito Joe way back when, at the end of the day, it's all about customer acquisition. Whether it's, I mean, how many different ways are there to kill a bug?
Yeah.
One,
It was a machine. It was
customer
neat to watch that.
customer acquisition and back end analytics. So the power of Buzz, the shared service model, we've got 30 full-time staff members at Buzz, 15 of them are in marketing. So Google AdWords, pay-per-click, geo-targeted Facebook. Mike, we just had Naperville, this is for British, Naperville come on board, South Boston. We've had Fort Collins, Roanoke, Virginia, Calgary, Alberta. And now they're all going through the training process right now. They can't teach a swim lesson, but we're already building brand awareness. We've already got
Love it.
presses out. We got social media. We're creating a buzz, so to speak, in every community we enter. So you combine that with the back end analytics. I'm not an analytics guy. I like talking to people, but I could click a mouse and look at it. So we got guys in the science lab banging out data to make sure our every brand that we're following the math when it comes to customer acquisition. We continue to grow. We'll be adding more brands as we move forward. But yeah, top down, I think great.
And the leadership there. I mean, I don't even need him as a guest. I could do an entire podcast just me talking about how awesome Kevin is. I mean,
Yeah,
he's an amazing franchise executive and leader, and he surrounds himself with people like you. And that's a testament to not only him, but to you guys as well. You've just got a world class, top notch, grade A team there.
yeah.
So in kind of closing us out and taking us home, Dave, what do you, any final thoughts, things you want to share with the folks that might be watching this podcast or video cast or whatever it's called?
Yeah, I tell you, it's a fun business. It's a very teachable business. You do not need an aquatics background. We're going to support our franchise owners in the launch. We got owners from all walks of life doing this, and I tell you, it's fun. There's not a lot of moving parts here. So if you're looking for an asset light opportunity, where the bulk of your resources are going to be put into 2 important avenues: customer acquisition and people. You've heard me say that a
Yeah.
number of times, but I tell you, that's a great spot to spend resources right now, especially in the current environment. We'd make a difference in the communities we serve. And once again, I would end up, I've got to end with some pun. You're looking to make a splash, British Swim School.
Beautiful. I love it. So, everybody, again, Mike Welch, Evolution Franchising. We help people find and evaluate great franchise opportunities like British Swim School. If you have any interest in this brand or any of the other ones we work with, feel free to reach out to me wherever you're watching this video. Dave Warren, you are a awesome guy. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being with us here today.
Rock and roll.
All right, brother. Take care, man.